So I'm not sure what happened to the audio here, but I don't seem to have any. What I'm doing here is I'm explaining that the hole this bridge is setting in isn't big enough. The fine tuners back there that I'm pointing at have springs underneath them, and if you crank them down and you don't have enough space for them, then they just push the whole bridge up, which means I have to route this hole out a bit. And that's what I'm discussing right here. So, having established that, let's move along. I discovered that this body has a nice little lip right there that is just the right size that if I take that off, there'll be plenty of room for the bridge to move. So, we're all set. Everything is all hooked up. I've got the router set to the proper depth. I just need to turn it on and get it running. So aside from the fact that my bit is now purple, yeah, that went pretty well. Looking on the front, there isn't any real cosmetic damage. I've got a little bit of a thing there, but the bridge will cover it up. Now, there's one other thing that I need to do. I need to make a little more of a recess right here for the whammy bar attachment, because if I don't, then the bridge is going to sit cockeyed, because that whammy bar thing sticks out just a little bit beyond the bridge block. So I'm going to hollow that out a little bit just to make sure I have enough room. I do have a better bit, at least I did. I don't know what happened to it. It seems to have disappeared, so I'm using this little bitty thing because it's what I have. Alright, so I'm doing this corner over here. Turn it around so we can see more or less. Alright. Fire it up. Well, let's get the bridge and see how close that is. Yeah, the issue here is this thing. The whammy bar attaches to it and it provides leverage so it can go both ways. But it, as I said, sticks a little bit beyond this block. So when I put the bridge in, it was sitting a little kitty wampus. Look at that. That is perfect. And I've got my hole back here, which is pretty unobtrusive. I'll dress it up with a little sanding and stuff. But that it works. All right. So what I did, I cranked this thing all the way down so that that spring pushed as far down as it's going to go, and I had plenty of clearance here. So that was the final obstacle. So I guess it's time to mount this thing. Turns out I did have to do some more routing because I had to make a little space here so this block here can move both directions, because when I had it at the scale length, it was right up against the wood, so there's no way it's going to move this way. So I carved out a little space for it, and I made a little, see if I can show it to you here. I made a little kind of a landing here for the whammy bar. holder. Now, one concern that the fella in the tutorial had was enough wood to hold these posts strong enough that they can handle the stress of going like this. Now, it's my understanding that the way the heads of those posts are beveled, they're supposed to take all the stress and push it straight down. But he actually put some metal reinforcement along here. I'm not going to do that. This is a brand new body. It's good wood, and I think I have enough to keep it good and strong. Plus, I don't actually do that much with my whammy bar. I don't do dive bombs and all of that stuff, and I don't do the kind of thing. I use it mostly for a little bit of effect, for a touch of vibrato, and that sort of thing. So it's not that crucial to me because I'm not going to be honking down on it like a maniac. If you are a guitarist who does that, hey, cool. More power to you. It's not for me. So, we're kind of getting down to the moment of truth here, so I'm going to double check my measurements. I've got my tape measure here. My Floyd Rose nut is on and in good shape. And so I'm going to measure my scale length again. I've got a carpenter's pencil here to do my marking with, so it's not a big hassle to remove it later. So I'm looking at 25 3/4, which again on this side is right at this dot. On this side, 25 3/4 is right at that dot. So I'm going to take a straight edge and make as much of a line as I can because I got a big hole in the middle. But the line will help me see exactly where I have to put this thing. So if I can get out of my own light, okay, that's my scale length. Now I got to figure it out this way, side to side. And here's where watching a good tutorial really pays off, because he gave me a really useful way to do this. He said you can, and it's true, you can measure down the sides of the neck. But his method is use a string. So that's what I'm going to do. I wrap this thing up and I can't remember how. And basically what we're doing is we're going from the nut down to the saddle, and we see how close we are to the edge of the neck. And so that is way, way far away. I could conceivably move it that way a little bit, except I'm at the end of the rope here. Alright, hold still. Yeah, he was saying, and I agree, that I like to have a little more space on this side, on the high E side, because I'm going to be bending those. That looks pretty good. Now let's go over to the low E side and see where we are there. could go that way just a hair. That is a very big hair. All right. This is not as easy as he made it look. Of course, he's been doing it for 11 years, and I haven't. So that looks better. Let's go back over here. And that looks good. So that's going to be my sides. So I'll mark those. Seriously? So, get it straight. Now my saddles are right on my scale length line. So, I'm going to measure the side to side one more time because this thing keeps moving. I actually need 3 hands to do this. But, let's get our string again and see what we've got. High E first. Looks good. Low E. Looks good to me. So there's my spot. My size. I can have it. You saw that, it moved again. Yeah, in shorthand we call that an EBCAG, which stands for error between chair and guitar. Double check here. Good. Good, it didn't move laterally, just front to back, so I can mark my sides. And that is where it's going to go. So, the next step is going to be to get it into place exactly where I want it, and then mark and drill these holes. So, here goes. Well, here we are back at the good old drill press. The guitar is all ready, and the only thing that isn't ready is me. I gotta admit, this is intimidating. I pretty well literally have one shot at this. So I have got to get it right. Now, notice my drill bit. This is the 1/4 inch that I'll drill the pilot hole with. And I have to be careful about how deep I go, because drilling a hole clear through the guitar would not be a good thing. So I have used a trick that everybody knows, and put a piece of tape on the bit at my depth. This thing does have a depth gauge, but I don't trust it. So I actually measured the bit against the post and put the tape there accordingly. Now, the other thing that we have to watch out for is things drifting as I drill. I have a little trick that I use for that. A nail. Any nail. Doesn't matter what it is. This happens to be a good-sized roofing nail. I take it, center the point exactly where I need the bit to go. Then I'll take my rubber hammer, not a big one. You don't need a BFH for this, and just give it a little tap. All we're doing is making a little dimple there. Just enough to keep the bit on the straight and narrow. I'll do the same thing on this side in the precise place that I want the bit to go. Little tap, and there we are. That will get our bit started in the right place. So, I repeat, this is intimidating. But there's no more reason to delay, so let's do this. Or not. I need to drop this thing down, so just a moment. And guess what? We can't reach it on either side. I am going to have to do this by hand. Okay, I have one shot at this, and I have to use the hand drill. Remember how I said this was intimidating? Yeah, that doesn't even begin to cover it. Well, there's nothing for it but to do it and just try to get it straight. So, my bit is in the dimple. Now there's a phrase to take out of context. Alright, looks like I'm straight up and down, so here goes. Okay, that's the first one. And go ahead and do this one. Get in there. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, now we'll switch bits. And if it doesn't work, or if I did it wrong, you know, I'm really not sure. Okay, here we go. This one is for real. And there we are. Let's blow some of the chaff away. So, still got some down inside the holes there. That's better. So the next step is to go ahead and put the posts in these holes. I have them here. This is what they look like. This part goes down into the wood, and then this part you can see has the beveled top, so it acts like a hinge, and the bridge that's mounted to it can move either way. So that goes in here. And it's a good tight fit, which is what we want. So I just need to tap it down in there, again, using my rubber hammer so we don't do any damage. That went in there very nicely. I am quite pleased. So we'll get the other one and we will put it in. And as I recall, I was actually supposed to unscrew this first before I do this. So yeah, better late than not at all. Good grief. That can make for one high bridge. Alright, so gently place that in there so it's flush. I'll take this one out and make sure this one is how it's supposed to be. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you can get away with doing things backwards. So there. Yeah, it needs to go just a little bit more. Okay, good. So, we'll put these back on, and then we will put the bridge on. That will mean attaching the strings, listen to me, springs, and all the rest. So, before I do that, I actually need, and before I put these in, I actually need to get the pick guard and see how much of it I need to cut away to fit around this new bridge. So we will do that right now. Okay, here we are. I didn't try to route all these wires exactly where they need to go. We'll fiddle with that later. Right now, I'm just getting a rough measurement. What I need to do is just cut it off to about there. If I cut that part out, then it should fit rather nicely and still look decent. Of course, it's clear, so yeah, it may not have any look at all. You know what else I could do? Instead of going down that way, I could bring this over that way in a nice little curve. Ooh, I kind of like that. I could do the same thing over here. I could make a nice little swoosh here and take it into that. All right, that's what I'm going to do. I just have to decide which tool I'm going to use to do it. I wound up using my Dremel with a cutting tool. Now I just need to clean it up and make it smooth and pretty. So I have a nice little polishing stone for that. So I want to round this corner here a little bit more. Like that. Then we'll smooth this stuff out over here. Tell the truth, I'm not too worried about what this part of it looks like because it's not really going to be all that visible. But, you know, may as well do a thorough, decent job of it if you're going to do it at all. So from here, one thing I need to do is get down to those Sharpie marks. I was having a little trouble with the cutting tool slipping off and trying to scratch the main surface of the pick guard, so there were some spots where I kind of went a little more gingerly than maybe I could have to prevent that. And yeah, we're fixing those now. I think my battery may be getting low, but I think, yeah, it's still going to be a little bit ragged over here as far as shape, but again, I could live with that. So get all the sharp edges off, all the little tags and things, and make this transition over here a little bit smoother. And you know what? I'm calling that good. All that remains now is to put it all together.